Welcome back to the Highway 49 podcast. This is the second ever emergency pod, and generally that means things aren't going well. And today, news was released around noon that Charlotte Athletic Director Mike Hill has been terminated. He had been in the role for 7 years and notably inked a 4-year contract extension running through 2030 in September of last year. So 13 months after signing an extension, Mike Hill is out as athletic director. I'm here with Hannah Brady, Jeremy Grandison, and guys, I guess starting with Jay, how shocking is this move? Going off what I just said, knowing that they just extended him, 13 months ago.
Yeah, pretty shocking. I'm kind of more shocked about the whole football side of this,
Yeah,
where it kind of feels like when a GM gets a job and the existing head coach is already there, and then you're thinking like the GM wants to have their guy in place,
yeah,
not the existing guy in place. And I know that Tim Albin in the statement they said that, Mike made that hire and set them up for future success, but the next GM, if they go and have another bad season, he's going to be saying like, I want to get my guy in, and
yeah.
I think there's just a lot of pressure now that's been added onto what's already not been a great season because of this move. And the last thing I'll say is like, if Charlotte said that, Tim is their guy, then Chancellor Gaber is going to have to make the next hire for AD by also telling them there's a big caveat. You can't go and find your guy. This is who we're rolling with. And that seems like a pretty big reason to not take the job if you're a potential AD. Like, oh, I can't do my work and put the guy I want in. I have to ride with whoever's there before. So, I mean, initial reactions kind of shocked, but interested to see how the next year plays out because now there is no foundation, there is no any of that. Yeah, Hannah, what are your thoughts?
I mean, for me, it feels really random. Um, just we're midway through the season. Obviously, we talked before this pod, the statement that was released in the press release, like that he did set this team up for greatness with Coach Albin and his hire for the future to come. So obviously, yes, the football season has not gone the way that people have expected. But with that hire, you would think that his job wouldn't be on the line. And especially we're like midway through the season, you're just wondering why now? I know there was a couple of changes, within coaching throughout all of the athletics this year with a few of coaches leaving, coaches stepping down and deciding to go elsewhere. Uh, but he did do a lot for Charlotte at this point in his 7 years. So it's just kind of mind-baffling to me that it's just at this particular time, especially when they extended his contract.
Yeah, I don't want to act like this is purely football because athletic director means he's the overseer for every single sport that Charlotte, has. So we've had Mike onto this pod before. He's talked about the importance of having to book a Georgia to get that 1.7 million to be able to disperse that among the rest of the other sports. And I understand the importance of that. With that being said, if Charlotte is 4-0, Mike Hill is still employed with the Charlotte 49ers.
For sure.
Yeah.
So we have to like understand that it's not just football, but it also is just football. Hunter, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. I don't know if y'all remember, but I caught a lot of flack for saying I thought that there could be a power struggle between these two during the hire of Tim Albin. And if I guess what I don't understand from the
Quick
situation
question. You
is
said between these two, who are those two people you're talking about?
Gaber, Mike Hill. With this hire, I guess what I don't understand is why you would allow Mike Hill to make the hire if you're Chancellor Gaber, knowing that you're gonna in 6 games, regardless of record, you're gonna move on from him.
Yeah.
Uh, Quite a few things don't make any sense on that front. I don't know if y'all remember the timing of the contract extension. Sunday at 1 p.m., we joked about as soon as Scott Hansen says, here is 7 hours of formerly commercial-free football, Mike Hill was announced the day after they beat Gardner Webb on a comeback. Trexler Ivy was just on this pod. Plug that. Some quick things. So Mike Hill, in his time, like we said, 7 years. He was hired in 2018. So he hired Ron Sanchez, He kind of mitigated the issue when Sanchez stepped away right before the season, making Aaron Fern the head or the interim basketball coach, and then promoting him to head basketball coach later that season. And that was men's basketball's most successful season in what, like 20 years, something along those lines. During his time with the football side of things, Mike Hill told Brad Lambert, "Hey, we appreciate you getting this program started. Adios." They tried to hire Mike Houston. Everything happened with that. That's been documented. Will Healy ended up as the program's second coach. They go to a bowl game 4 seasons in, they fire Will Healy. You get to the Biff Poggi experiment. That's cut short after just 22 games, 6-16 record. Now you hire Tim Albin after going 21 days without a coach in between those. So since Mike Hill took charge, as I said in 2018, football is 26-47. Most notably, the last 3 or 2.5 seasons with 6 games in this year. They won 3 games in 2023, 5 games in 2024. They're now 1-5, and it's looking like wins are sparse the rest of the way. I mentioned the men's basketball side of things. They're 90-91 in his tenure with the team. My thought is this: if you're going to sign someone to a 4-year contract extension just 13 months ago and then make the change this fast, it's a little bit shocking. Obviously, maybe you couldn't predict the struggles on the football side. The struggles on basketball sides have been evident. And Mike Hill came on this podcast and said neither of those are revenue building programs here. He said neither of them are. You talk about the biggest mouths to feed, and they're not feeding them, and that was very clear with the results on the field and on the courts. Looking at some of the things he did positive wise in the tenure, Charlotte joined the American going into 2023, which is a big deal. You look at the league now, it's far and away better than Conference USA. I think some of the product on the field, on the court, obviously maybe geared towards more of that Conference USA side of things with the results, but they broke ground on a football stadium expansion, bringing the stadium past 18,000 seats. And as I said earlier, he hired 8 coaches and a couple of associate ADs in that time frame. So major news. The timing is, I mean, you kick off homecoming week with a bang, and he's not the only one that has been either moved on from or terminated from the program, depending on how you want to word it. I was told that Eric Gross, executive associate athletic director and foundation executive director, is also gone, as well as the head athletic football trainer Kenny Cabe for the football program. And we've talked countless times on this pod about the injuries this season and even in years past. I mean, it goes back to the 8 or 9 guys out with Biff Poggi. It goes further than that. A ton to dive into here. I think, I guess I want to open it back up to you guys. The biggest shock to me is the timing, knowing that Tim Albin, at least on the football side of things, is just 6 games in. I guess Jay, do you just want to expand on some of those? I know I just talked and just gave a bunch of stats and shit.
Um, I don't have much to say. I'm trying to think of like trying to connect the dots on why it happened now rather than later or earlier. And the only thing I can think of is just Gabriel might have just been like empty promises.
Yeah,
Every season, apparently this is going to be the year we're trending upward, and then you look 5 weeks in and you have the same record as always. I think part of this could be, I know not much of it, but part of it could be, the fan base. They've been clamoring for Mike, a lot of them, to, get moved on from for a while. We all know Mike personally. I like Mike as a person.
me too, man.
Great guy, truly a great guy. If we're gonna like dive into this, I'm gonna have a very hot take, which is this isn't Mike's fault at all. In my opinion, I'm gonna have a hot take as in there's always been a scapegoat in the
Yeah,
past time that I've been covering this program, not just football, not just basketball, everything. There's always a scapegoat. And I keep hearing that, it's Mike's fault or it's Biff's fault or it's Will Healy's fault. And the one constant is Charlotte. And that is
yeah,
like a very, very hard pill to swallow. But this is my perspective from the outside where I think, and I mean, if we're getting into this, there was a pod that Hunter and I did maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and oh, Hannah was there as well, and I was kind of talking about, how Charlotte doesn't have an identity, and throughout all this time, they haven't been able to have an identity. And let me see if I can find this because I really, really want to touch on it. Someone responded to the YouTube video and said, I think his name was Brandon Foster. And what he said was this. He said, comparing a very young program to others that are over 100 years old isn't fair. You build that culture and identity over time by hiring the right people, and we hope Tim is that guy. Judging this based on 4 games in his first year seems a bit early. The one point from Jeremy that I agree on is that non-conference scheduling doesn't seem to make bowl games viable with where the team is right now. And Brandon, I want to say thank you because sometimes, I come on these pods and I just start veering off the road and I need to have some people to straighten that wheel up a little bit for me. But I think Charlotte's biggest problem is that Charlotte is a 13-year-old playing basketball. You're in a 13U basketball league and you are so good in that 13U basketball league, or you're hyping yourself up, you go and tell your parents, I want to join the 16U basketball league. I'm 13, but I want to play with the 16-year-olds, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the pool I think I'm swimming in. Once you go and make that jump to the 16U, you can't then blame your performance because you can't blame your performance on joining a better league. I think that's what happened with Charlotte, where you jump to the American. You're playing these big teams. Your non-con games are Ole Miss and Georgia and all these things in your schedule, and now you're falling back on, oh, well, we're just a young program. No, that excuse can't be used anymore. You put yourself in these situations. You made the move to the American. You scheduled Georgia. You scheduled Ole Miss. You scheduled all of these teams. And now when it doesn't work, you can't fall back on, oh, well, it's just so early. I think the big problem, and it's not Mike, and it's not Biff, and it's not a head coach or anything, is that it's too early. And I think Charlotte put themselves in this position and they can't get out of it.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing over all this time in the firing process over and over again is trying to cope and put scapegoats on a problem that simply can't be fixed. And I guess to end off, I don't know how they get out of it because, again, they're too young of a program to be swimming and playing with all of these big fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you kind of hit it like they hit the nail on the head. I mean, I think Charlotte is always looking for someone to blame. And Mike Hill has been that person for a lot of people, especially with football, obviously not producing and not winning. I mean, you look at his track record though outside of football, and you think since joining the American, I mean, a league high of 6 conference championships across 5 sport programs. I mean, we're arguably in every other category in the American at the top. So, but people want to be really good at basketball and football, and at a time, we were a basketball school, and the Charlotte fan base wants to see that come back and come back to fruition. And I just think it's a really weird time though. Just right in the smack dab of the middle of the season and with the whole promise of Coach Albin,
Yeah.
I'm just kind of confused here.
All right. So I just got a text from someone that's with the athletic program for a very long time. Quote, I think Sharon Elgaber, chancellor, finally had enough of Mike making decisions that she had to go along with. I'm
Mm,
sure Biff Poggi parading for 2 weeks at Michigan didn't help. People thought, quote, look at what I can do if people let me, end quote. Biff didn't do well here, but people see him succeed and we are 1-5. I'm sure she was feeling some heat, end quote. Make of that what you will. I don't really know if I dive too much into that. I
Yeah,
I just think it's
what does that
yeah.
mean?
I don't
I
understand what that means.
Yeah, I don't know why. I guess here's the biggest thing. If this is a football related deal, which obviously football is the biggest sour spot in the
Right.
athletic side, I mean, non-basketball and football, this university wins a lot in the American. If you kind of dive into the soccer side of things, softball is good, been good, track is always good. The football side of things, if you're going to allow him to make the hire, and they addressed it in the statement, she literally said over the past 7 years, Mike has led our athletic department with deep commitment. He played a pivotal role in many important advances, including the move to the American. The most important thing here, his hiring of head football coach Tim Albin has also set us on a path towards success. So if you're going to allow him to make that hire, I don't really understand the timing of the firing when the dude is 1-5 in year one. Like when
Mm.
you like Mike Hill was at the presser on Tuesday. We didn't necessarily talk. When Hannah and I walked outside, like leaving the presser, Mike and Tim Albin were having a conversation on the side. I don't think I think this is probably news, early news for Mike Hill as well, because like I say, he was
Hunter,
on
can
campus
you read that quote again, please?
from my phone or the
From the source.
okay. I think Sharon Gaber finally had enough of Mike making decisions that she had to go along with. I'm sure Biff parading around for 2 weeks at Michigan didn't help.
What the
Biff didn't do well here, but people see him succeed and we are 1-5. I'm sure Sharon was feeling some heat.
So evidently just kind of saying like everyone who we bring in doesn't have success at Charlotte, but whenever they leave, they have success, pretty
And I
and
much.
mean, go ahead,
yeah,
Joe.
that's not a Mike Hill thing. That's a
Yeah.
Charlotte thing. If anything, I've never met Chancellor Gabriel before. If anything, that's a Chancellor Gabriel thing,
Yeah.
right? This is crazy for me to hear. Like Biff is succeeding because he's at
Michigan.
Michigan.
Yeah.
He's at a school that won the national championship less than 3 years ago.
Yeah.
He's at a school that can pour any amount of money into any player they want. He came on here and said, if we want a player, we get him.
Yeah.
These are
And we're acting
things
like
that
I mean he
Charlotte can't
beat
do.
Central Michigan and Nebraska in his two games. Continue.
These are things that Charlotte can't do. So to hear that, like, and I know it's a source, it's not coming straight from Chancellor Gabriel's mouth, it's speculative or whatever. To hear that like, oh, she felt the heat because he's killing it at Michigan is like
Yeah.
me saying like, oh my gosh, I can't believe Trey Young's doing so well on the Hawks and my rec basketball team isn't doing well. What are we talking about here?
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah.
All right.
Mm.
So in the wake of the firing, Hannah actually knows this guy, which is funny. Interim, I guess, AD is going to be the current vice chancellor for institutional integrity and general counsel, and that's Jesh Humphrey. I saw Agent 49 tweet out and say basically he doesn't understand that. This person has no experience in athletics. So I don't, I have a call set up with Sharon Gaber. Yeah, I know. With Sharon Gaber later today, and we'll get more answers from her mouth. And some of the questions I've got lined up with that, we're going to get to a mailbag in a second, so we don't have all the answers. But what kind of buyout is this, right? You just signed a 4-year extension. What are you looking for in the next hire? What kind of pushed this decision to happen now? Hannah, do you want to talk about Jesh Humphrey for a second?
Yeah, I mean, when I saw who was taking over, I just for the interim, I was like, why Jesh? Because he has no experience in the athletic side of things, and you would think, as an interim, you'd want someone who's deeply involved in the athletic department. And I mean, I serve with Jesh at my church, which is kind of crazy. So I'll definitely be sure to talk to him the next time I see him about it. It's kind of crazy, but he was a lawyer. So I'm not sure why him is my question. Not that he's not a great guy because he is, but I'm just curious why they went that route instead of athletic department. What's going on that we need someone of that background? I'm not quite sure there. That's my
Yeah,
only question.
yeah, Hunter, I'm looking forward to hearing that interview with
Yeah.
Chancellor Gabriel because again, if she was kind of fed up with having to deal with Mike's decisions, what I'm hearing from all of these things are the next AD is going to just be kowtowing to her. What
Yeah.
AD is going to want, what AD is going to hear what happened in Charlotte and say, oh, she might not have been happy with the decisions Mike was making. And she felt like, he was casting a shadow over her job. Or the new AD won't be allowed to switch the head coach. Like all of these things don't seem like a lucrative position or a desirable position for a new athletic director. If I'm an athletic director interviewing for the job and they say, "Hey, head coach, football can't be touched." head coach, basketball, as much as we love Farron and everyone, as an AD, you want to have full autonomy over the athletic department of all sports. And what I'm hearing right now so far, and I hope that the interview clears it up, is we are going to have you kind of in a limited role.
Yeah.
And Tom just said, big news brewing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
What is
not.
going on, man?
Oh,
Hannah,
I just
re Hannah, we read the list of coaches that have either stepped down or just left university as of late.
yeah, I have the women's side of things, but Brandy Fontaine was relieved in February 2025. Women's lacrosse, which was the ever like first ever um lacrosse
Inaugural
head coach,
season,
which
yeah.
was Claire.
She came
Yeah,
on the
we
pod.
had her on the pod. I mean, Ryan Ashburn, who's been at Charlotte for years, left in May 2025. Women's volleyball, Karen Weatherington was fired. If you look back further, I mean, Kara Consuegra, um,
Left.
John Cullen, yeah, it's just so many people. It's not even a part of football or basketball. I mean, obviously, we talked about Ron Sanchez and um, Will Healy, Bev Poggi, Brad Lambert.
Yeah.
But
It's been a lot in the
that's
past
the
couple of years.
thing, though. I'm so like,
Yeah.
this Charlotte isn't the end all be all job. So when you say
Yeah.
that, like Charlotte sports in the American are doing really well outside of football and basketball, you're completely right. And thank you for giving those stats because I think people are going to overshadow that part of, what has happened with Charlotte. But Kara Consuega left not because Charlotte was bad. She left because she got a better job.
Yeah.
These people are leaving
Some
for
people move
higher
on
position.
because they're going, yeah. And
Exactly.
she, yeah.
So at a certain point, you can't be like, oh, it's Charlotte. Like, we should be on the same level as these guys. You need to have that realistic expectations and say, what can we do as a program to be able to, once these people eventually and inevitably move on, how do we replace them and keep this thing going? And they haven't been able to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also
It's
how do we keep them here? I think we've
I
talked
don't
about
think you
that on every
can.
single podcast, especially for basketball. Like all of our star players for basketball continuously leave because what?
But
They get more money.
and that's not a problem with just Charlotte, though. That's all of these smaller
That's all,
schools,
yeah, of course.
So it's just I don't think I think using the mindset of how do we keep them in house rather than how do we make sure when they like it's going to happen. They are going to leave. What can we do when they do? Like that's
How do we
I don't
make
know.
this a place for whenever that person does leave, we
Yeah.
have the tangible things to be able to replace them and make it a smooth transition?
all right. We're gonna get to the mailbag portion. We've kind of told you everything we know right now. Like I say, we'll have a little bit more insights after hearing from Chancellor Gaber. For the mailbag questions, we really appreciate you guys. A lot of questions, a lot of feedback. Like I said, we've answered as much as we can. So we're gonna dive into some of the specific questions. Hannah, hit us with those.
Yeah, we're going to start with Sam Doughton. He said, very curious about the decision to name someone from the university admin as the interim rather than someone in the athletic department. What do you make of the interim decision by the chancellor?
Hannah, I almost think you talked about this. Like
Yeah.
his background as a lawyer. Charlotte currently doesn't have a CFO as of September 17th. I know that. I don't know how key that is in this. It doesn't make any sense to me to have an interim with no athletic experience, though, especially knowing, I mean, you're smack in the middle of football season. Winter sports are about to get started. Uh, any thoughts on that, Jay or Hannah?
I'm truly at a loss for words, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
don't know
think
enough about the hire. I don't know enough about the position. Yeah.
I think we're all just at this point, especially with the with Jesh being named the interim. I think we're all kind of confused as to why. And hopefully the conversation with Sharon Gaber will give us some insight to that and hopefully you guys as well when we find out more information. But it's definitely a random time, that's for sure. And hopefully we'll get some clarity there. But I want to go to the Heel brothers. They asked, does the firing of Mike Hill signal a push to try and find an AD to help Charlotte in the revenue department, or was this purely a production decision based on results?
As far as the revenue, since he got here, I know that he's added about $20 million to the athletics budget since he got on campus. We talked about the move to the American. We talked about stadium expansion, the Evergreen Master Plan, all this stuff. And I mean, I voiced like frustration on the timeline for the stadium expansion. What all is really happening? I mean, you're adding 3,000 seats, and it's taken almost 4 years to do it. I've talked about that before. So the revenue side of things, I think, has been coming along. I mean, Charlotte had between 1.2 and 1.5 million for NIL and the football side of things this past season. So that's Biff Poggi's last year, 24. I don't have a solid number on 25. I was told that they were trying to get to match that number, exceed it a little bit over 1.5 million this year for football. Production standpoint, I don't have the full list of conference championships or NCAA tournament experience or appearances for all 19 sports on campus, but I do know, as you mentioned earlier, there's been wide-ranging success, which I think is what directly led to Hill signing a 4-year extension last year, literally 13 months ago. When you talk about the biggest mouths to feed, football, men's basketball, obviously there have been struggles, and we've that's been well documented on this podcast. So I think like we can see the growth on the monetary side of things, the budgetary side, but there's no, I guess, on-field big like top-end sports, football, basketball to match. So that's the best I've got for that.
Yeah, I think that kind of answers D-Rock 15's question. What role did the lack of success in men's basketball have in this decision? Was it even a factor? And
David Scott, longtime Observer reporter, just texted me, "What the hell?"
pretty much that's kind of where we're at. Um, let's see. Sideline Charlotte asked, what kind of background do you think the AD search will be looking for?
Yeah, that's one of the questions I've got posed to Gaber. I think at this point, you want someone that is going to be like completely aligned with Gaber, Jerry, or Jeremy. You talked about it a minute ago. Like this decision coming at this time kind of makes you think like either they clearly they weren't on the same page. Like you don't fire someone that you feel like you're in a good place with, kind of regardless. Obviously, I think you look to someone that's been successful in this role. You're not going to hire someone with no experience in this realm. And Mike had a lot of experience. I mean, he was with Florida for almost 25 years, 6 years in the role of, let me make sure I get this right, the Gators Executive Associate Athletics Director for External Affairs. So his past 6 years, he was in a similar role with Ball State. So he's been around. I mean, you think in that span with the Gators, they went back to back men's basketball championships in '09, '08, '09. So he had been around. So yeah, I mean, you're looking for someone with a background in winning and someone that's on that same timeline, same mind frame as Gaber.
I think the better question is what attributes are they looking for that Mike didn't have?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Mike was successful. Mike was personable. What are they looking for in AD that Mike didn't have?
Probably just
Yeah.
someone who has experience with winning in football, if that's going to be my honest answer.
And and then if that's the case, it brings us back to square one where you have to tell that AD who has experience in football that he can't go and get his guy.
Right.
He
Yeah.
can't do his own search. Hey, here's the job. You can't do anything with the main revenue sport that we have.
Hmm.
Good luck getting that guy. And what this means to me is that word patience is going to
Yeah.
come back into the fold
Yeah.
and say, we got a new AD. He's going to have to gonna have to give him time to put his own. God damn it. How many times are we going to say the word patience, man? It's ticking
Right.
me off. It
All
truly
right.
is.
While we're talking about that, I have not talked to Tim Albin. I feel bad for Tim Albin right now. You leave a
Yeah.
20-year job at Ohio where you just won the MAC, three 10-win seasons in a row. He takes this leap of faith to come to Charlotte for
Mhm.
200,000 more dollars a year, which I'm not acting like that's chump change. That's a shit ton of money. But making 900,000 a year now to come here knowing the football program has no history. It's bone dry in the NIL department compared to a lot of the other schools. It's better than the MAC, don't get me wrong. But now you have a new AD coming in that's not your guy, that wasn't the head man in the recruiting process trying to find this head coach, and you have a 1-5 football team that is scrounging for another win this season. So, fly on the wall, I would love to know what Tim Albin is thinking right now with
Mm.
this all going
Fly on
on,
the wall. I would love to know what Aaron Fern is thinking right now.
and
Yep.
how many cigars has Biff Poggi smoked
Yeah,
today?
that's what I was just about to say.
Over under 3.5.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll take the over. All right.
I think this leads into the question, though, from I'm Zelling, should Hill have gotten more time with the hiring of Alvin? What do y'all think?
I mean, you don't. It blows my mind that you allow him to make the hire if you're going to fire him
Yes.
after 6 games.
Right.
Bottom line. And
Yes.
like, I mean, we went back and forth, dude. I probably my most hated days as a reporter ever was covering this coaching hire because
Mhm.
of hearing so much different shit from so many different people and getting caught up in saying I thought that there could be a power struggle between them two. With all the stuff from Bobby Petrino from Arkansas and all these different folks, like Sharon Gaber came from Arkansas. I figured that there was a tenure there. Actually, I got that wrong. She came from Tulane. Let me figure this out. Either
Hunter,
way,
can we do something real quick?
yeah,
You are gonna be Barack Obama. I'm gonna be his impersonator that Key does, the Key and Peele
yeah,
thing. So like
Mhm.
Hunter was in the field doing the work. Everyone's, you know, giving him flack over it. I'll be the guy who's gonna speak what he's actually thinking,
Yeah.
right? Hunter's like, hey, I was doing my best. My translation, all you guys need to shut up. I was right the entire time. People said that there's a power struggle. I said there was. People didn't believe me. People said I wasn't doing my job correctly. I
Yeah.
was right. You were wrong. And now we're sitting here and everything is coming back full circle.
Yeah.
and the connection was so Gaber came from Toledo, not Tulane, so Toledo, and they had passed a history there with Petrino. So all that to say is like I was told from people in the jump during the coaching hire that there was like tension. Obviously, when Tim Albin was hired, it all that was put to bed, right? Mike Hill, you're on an extension at that point. We
Yeah.
see now on October 16th of 2025, literally 13 months and 1 day after the hire that or the extension that he's been fired. So that's the best I got for that. Appreciate you, Jay.
I'm just saying, like I remember you text me being like, dude, I don't enjoy this. I
Yeah, I
don't
hate it.
enjoy the part of having to hear all these sources and all these things come from different directions. And now I have Mike mad at me. I have Chancellor Gabriel who's like, where did this come from? And the whole time, what you were saying was correct. So I
Mhm.
just have to make sure that we put that in ink right there because
Put it in writing.
when the process was happening, it was all just like, oh, this guy way out of his depth. What's happening? No, he
Yeah.
had it right. And let's move on to the next mailbag question.
Um, Michael McCarter asks, was it revenue, sports, performance, stadium expansion, timing, fundraising, overall vision? Wow, that just seems to be several angles to potentially unpack. And I think we're kind of at the same crossroads as you are, Michael. A lot of things that are uncertain.
Yeah, it's at a point now where we're going to talk about the decision as to why, but I think the biggest thing now is where do they go from here? So
Yeah.
as we know more, we'll dive into that. Go ahead, Jay.
Question: if they beat App State, is Mike Hill still employed?
Uh,
Probably, as thin as that sounds,
If
like
they're able to, if they didn't have all the unforced errors against UNC at home, and you beat Bill Belichick and he goes 0-2 at home against Charlotte.
Probably.
Is he
yeah,
employed?
probably.
Probably. So
Yeah.
we can say all of these things about revenue and stadium expansion and all these other points. If they just won games, if they had a above 500 record, I think Gabriel would have been able to handle maybe the other stuff that she wasn't, liking. But because all of that with paired with the season looks like a dumpster fire, then it seemed like okay, it might be time.
Yeah.
Okay, I just got some answers to some questions. I'm probably gonna. All right, if you listen this far, here's all the good shit. Uh, from Gaber, the terms of Mike Hill's contract will be honored, including a financial payout of his $420,000 base salary through June 30th of 2030. The payout is subject to standard mitigation obligations. So that is 5 years at $420,000. So some quick math, that's 2 milli in Mike Hill's pocket. On the decision timing, timing and leadership transitions is always challenging. However, the landscape of college athletics is changing rapidly, and a university must position itself for long-term success. This transition reflects our commitment to evolving with those changes and ensuring UNC Charlotte remains competitive and sustainable. I don't love that she said UNC Charlotte. That's going to piss some people off. That's also exactly what was said in the press release. The timeline for a new hire. We have made no decision on that at this time, and it is too soon to comment further. Two more
Okay.
questions that I asked. What characteristics do you want? We'll be looking for someone who understands the evolving landscape of college athletics, particularly in areas like NIL, student athlete experience, and financial sustainability, and who can continue to strengthen our programs and community engagement. Last question. Did football play a major role in this decision? No. This decision was not driven by the performance of a specific team. It was based on broader strategic considerations related to the overall direction and competitiveness of our athletics enterprise in a rapidly changing environment.
Um,
Wait. So, first of all, clip that part and post it on Twitter because you said that's all the good shit.
Yeah.
Second off, if it's not a football related thing, like Hannah said, you were killing shit in other areas not
I am
named
very
football.
confused.
Yeah.
I love to watch the world burn, man. Let's see what happens. And
All
hey,
right.
shout out to man Mike. You got
Yeah.
that Frank Reich package. You
Yeah,
will
babe.
be,
Two
yeah.
Yeah,
milli.
you're
Shout
setting
out
the
to
Two
you.
milli over 4 years. 5 years. Wow.
Woo!
That's crazy.
Wow. All right. I don't really have anything else. So there's not a lot to unpack there. She didn't say anything new. There's no timeline. I mean, the characteristics are exactly what you think they'd be. It doesn't have anything to do with winning, particularly areas like NIL, student athlete experience, financial sustainability, and who can continue to strengthen our programs and community engagement. Those are the characteristics for the next. With that, that's all we got for the Highway 49 podcast. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Jay.
Sorry, last thing. It's kind of crazy how it's what, week six?
Yeah.
Is it week six?
Yeah.
And we didn't say a word about homecoming game
Happy
football.
homecoming.
Because this has just completely overshadowed it. And now, if you're a player, you have this looming over. If you're Tim Albin, you have this looming over. So this overarches over a ton of different people. So
Yeah, what a
although
way
we're
to go
talking
in.
about this, although this is kind of juicy, although all this stuff is kind of happening at the same point, still got 6 games left in the schedule. Still
Yeah.
got coaches who are now thinking like, man, this is a make or break year for me. So. This is a seismic event that tipped off the Richter scale, and hopefully we can find our feet after all the dust settles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning into the Highway 49 podcast. Send it to all your folks. Tell your friends about it. We got you with all the news here first. Appreciate y'all.